Hey, what's up, guys? This is Kristen Thompson. I'm a realtor, and I'm here to explain to you today what the heck is a pre-foreclosure. All right, let's do it.
Listening? Damn. Yeah.
What is a pre-foreclosure? So I get this question all the time. Even my husband, who has been with me since I was 16 and he's been here for all 10 years that I have been a realtor, was asking me the other day, what the heck is a pre-foreclosure? And I was like, seriously? I've been a realtor for 10 years and you don't know this? Come on, man. So I guess it's not as obvious as everybody thought. And the reason he was asking me is because we're real estate investors and we've been actually looking for more houses. We're looking to flip 20 houses in the next year. And so we're kind of expanding our market as to where we get our homes from. And so he was like, yeah, what is this pre-foreclosure thing? I'm like, all right, let me explain it to you. So I get this question all the time from my real estate customers. And there's a couple ways that you can go about this. It's actually it's a great opportunity for potential buyers and potential investors, because what it is, a pre-foreclosure, and this is why people ask me, I'm gonna tell you, Zillow. Everything always goes back to Zillow. Why does my Zestimate say it's this and you're saying my house is worth this? Well, because they're wrong. That's why they're wrong. and of course the realtor, me, I'm right, I'm just kidding. Okay, listen. So what is a pre-foreclosure? Let me get back there. So Zillow has years ago, I don't know how long ago, they started listing houses as pre-foreclosures, potentially for sale. It's a potential house that could be for sale. And what happens is when someone starts to get behind on their payments, the bank says, there's something going on here. We need to start the foreclosure process. So what this is in Florida, I'm strictly talking about Florida. I'm sure the process is similar in other states, but this is the way it is here. So the bank goes to the county and they say, hey, I'm going to put a notice that we're going to foreclose on this property. It's called a lis pendens. And they're telling everyone that they're working on foreclosing on this house. So what's going to happen to the homeowner is they're going to get like a gajillion phone calls from everybody who is an investor and all the good things out there saying, hey, I'll buy your house, or hey, I'll do this for you, and hey, let me refinance you, and all the things, right? So they're going to get inundated with phone calls and stuff. But the thing is that we do know is that the people are behind on payments because the bank is saying that we're going to foreclose. And there's a couple things that can happen during this process. So the bank could potentially work out a deal with the owner. And this was happening a lot when the market was down. They would refinance essentially at the same terms that you had previously and just add on those back payments as essentially to the end of the loan. And the house would never go to foreclosure. So that could happen. So the bank could work out an agreement with the homeowner, because one thing is, this is true of banks. They don't want to own real estate. They don't want to maintain your real estate. They have no interest in actually foreclosing on your property. They want to collect payments. They don't want to own real estate. Let's just keep that in mind. So they may work out a deal with the homeowner. Then the seller, the homeowner, may actually decide to sell the house. They may say, hey, you know what? This house is actually too much for us. We can't maintain it no longer. There's many reasons why people might decide. They could be, the payment's too high for them. The property is too big for them, and they can't maintain it any longer. They moved and they don't actually live here anymore, and they were collecting rent on the property and the renter quit paying. There's so many things that can happen where the homeowner just says, I'm done. Get me out of here. So in that case, recently what happens is we just sell the house. It's just, we sell it and it's done, because most people have equity in their houses. Back when I started in 2012, this is what we called short sales. Oh, remember that famous word that everybody has forgotten about? A short sale? What is that? I'll make another video about that one because everybody has obviously clearly forgotten about those, but they're coming back. So with that being said, you can either sell it or short sell it. So that's one of the options. And as a home buyer, that's a great opportunity because you can get the house sometimes for less than what the market is pulling. So a short sale means that we're selling the house for less than what is owed on it. So the homeowner owes $300,000, but the market value is only $250,000. I'm just using random numbers here. So the homeowner goes through a process with their bank where they say, hey, we're having financial difficulty. We can no longer afford this house. The bank has to vet the homeowner to make sure that's true. And then once they go through that whole process, they then decide, okay, sure, you can't afford this house. We'll agree to the short sale. And then that's when they do a price opinion on the house. And then they agree to accept the $250, or sometimes they say, actually, we think the house is worth $280. You got to change the price. That's a whole nother, short sales are a whole nother topic. Okay. But that is something that can happen. So it's an opportunity for home buyers because they may be able to get the price for lower. It's an opportunity for investors as well. So just keep this in mind. A traditional home buyer, when it comes to properties that are not in great condition, they only have a couple of options for financing when it comes to financing alone. Most banks will not finance houses that are not in decent condition. So if you have a house that has a roof leak or you can't get insurance on it for some reason, or it's just like really, really poor shape, that traditional home buyer will be excluded from the buyer pool unless they have cash or some other means of doing that, of purchasing the house without traditional financing. So this is a great opportunity for the investor to get the property. So you'll, again, like I said, you'll get a lot of people contacting the owner saying, hey, I'll buy your house for cash. I'll get you out of there. You know, these we buy houses for cash people, them. So they'll go out and start reaching out to these pre-foreclosures as well. So that's what pre-foreclosure is. There's a ton of opportunity with those. But just remember, I just got to go back to this. You know, these are people that own this house. They could have had a medical crisis. They could have had a death in the family. This could have been their mom's house or their child's house and they inherited it. Just remember, these are people. If you're going to reach out to someone because there was a list pendant or a pre-foreclosure put out there, just don't forget that you're talking to people who have real world problems. And that's why, as me personally as an investor, that's how I do things. I never want to be the person that is accused of being like the slimy investor, sometimes you hear them called the slumlord or, something like that. Okay. So I never want to be that person. And I hope none of you do either. So just remember, you're talking to people that may have had something bad happen in their life. And that is why their house is going into foreclosure. The last thing that can happen is that the bank actually forecloses on the house. So as a home buyer and a investor, you want to try to get that house before the bank forecloses. Just remember that. Get the house before the bank forecloses, okay? What will happen once the bank forecloses is they will they'll keep the house, it could go on the market immediately. They may keep the house in shadow inventory, which is, they don't, back in the day when foreclosures were a lot more prevalent, they didn't want to release all the houses on the market that they had foreclosed on because it would flood the market and drive prices down even more than they already were. So they kept them as shadow inventory. And sometimes these houses would stay on their books for years, like a long time. And what happens when a bank owns a house? They don't want to maintain it, and they don't want to be a real estate owner. They don't want to own that house, right? So the houses typically will go into further decline, and you'll find more issues with the house. So that's what will happen when it forecloses. So once the bank has that property, they have to go through a process. So it has to go to be like listed on the public auction, and then sometimes they'll go back to the bank, and there's just a lot of process that has to go into it before the bank can actually sell the property. And if it's a bigger bank, that process takes even longer because they have so much corporate red tape they have to go through. Sometimes your smaller banks, like your local banks, it doesn't take as long. And sometimes, just keep this in mind as well, if it's a big like Bank of America or Wells Fargo, or just forget it, just prove me wrong though. Seriously, I'm serious. Prove me wrong that you can get a house from these big national banks before they list them for sale. I would love for you to prove me wrong, other than auction, of course, that you can, like, what I'm saying is, like, you can reach out to that bank and get them to sell you the house. If you've done that, tell me. I want to know how you did it. Okay. But with the, local banks, however, like your tiny banks that are just like, in your local town or whatever, those you might have an opportunity with. So I would reach out to those banks and say, hey, I saw this house that I want to buy, and you are the bank that owns it. Who can I talk to at this branch or the corporate office to possibly purchase this house? That is a good idea. Go for it. Let me know how it works out for you. I've never actually been successful doing that, but it's worth a try if a small bank forecloses on a property. Again, prove me wrong on the big banks. I want to know how to do that. Anyways, so that's my spiel on pre-foreclosures, and I hope that you learned something. Like always, I hope that you gain value by listening to me jibber jabber about pre-foreclosures and getting off on a couple of tangents. Anyways, listen, thank you so much. Please subscribe and check out my other videos here. Bye.